The White House is pressed on the shift, leaving things to get somewhat heated in the briefing room. And senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy follows that. North Lawn today. Peter, what happened and what was said? Hello?
Bill, officials here are not saying that Donald Trump is going to strip women's rights and destroy democracy anymore. They are also not apologizing for all the times they did.
Is the message to people who are fearful based on what the messaging was about mistakes?
Well, now you're just twisting everything around, and that's really unfair. No, it is. No, Jackie, it's unfair because I've been standing here trying to be very respectful to what happened the last two nights ago. Being respectful.
Axios has published new details about what Harris told staffers post-loss. Quote, during the call, Harris told staffers, yeah, this sucks. We all just speak the truth. Why don't we, right? There's also so much good that has come of this campaign. The report continues. The message didn't resonate with some Harris staffers. It was detached from the reality of what happened. One said, we are told the fate of democracy is at stake. And then the message was, we'll get them next time. And next time may come quick, according to some House Dems.
A lot of us remember, Congressman, you led the charge on investigating Trump as an existential threat to democracy. How do you hold Trump accountable now without control of the Senate, or likely, for that matter, the House, and after the U.S. Supreme Court granted him major presidential immunity?
Well, we're going to discover the answer to your question as we go through this over the next several years.
President Biden is off to his beach house in Delaware later today. Vice President Harris remains here in Washington, D.C. We are told that all of her briefings and meetings are going to be closed press. We have not been told when exactly she plans to return to the business of the vice presidency. Bill?
And no date yet for when Trump meets Biden at the White House. Is that right?
No, they said it's going to be in the near future, but anything between now and Inauguration Day is the near future. So we'll see.
I guess that fits the definition. Thank you, Peter. Great work down there, North Lawn.
Fun with adjectives. Yes. Okay, more on this. New York Post contributor Douglas Murray, great to have you here. Can I just play, just for a trip down memory lane, which was last week, this is what Democrats were saying.
Donald Trump is a great threat to our democracy.
Don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms.
President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy.
So how is Jackie's question unfair?
No, it's totally fair.
Okay.
I mean, the Democrats have to do a pivot because they know that what they were saying in the campaign was a lie. It reminds me of the pivot they tried to do very briefly after the first assassination attempt on President Trump, when the same people we've just heard from had been saying, he's Hitler, he's Hitler, he's Hitler. And then when somebody almost killed him, they said, well, he may be Hitler, but I'm glad he wasn't hurt. That's not an easy or clever pivot. And it shows that you were lying and exaggerating and fibbing before. And it's the same now. They've spent months, the Democrats, and particularly Kamala Harris, saying Donald Trump, existential threat to democracy, existential threat, and then, but we're looking forward to a transfer of power.
Yeah. Peaceful transfer.
Yeah, all it demonstrates is they were fibbing. They were trying to rile up their base through the election. It was hollow extremist rhetoric from them. And now we're reminded of that. And I feel sorry a little bit for some of those Democrat voters who were actually taken in by this, because there are probably some who have been terrified into believing what Kamala Harris and co said purely for political gain.
Yeah. Kimberly Strassel writes in the Wall Street Journal, "A landslide against the media" is the title. She goes on, "So long as the left is pointing fingers, let it direct a big fat digit at the outfit that played the biggest role in losing in this election, the U.S. media." How'd you see that?
Well, I'd say yes, but with a caveat. It's not like it's all of the media. Yes, a lot of the media in this country has been wildly partisan against Trump, against the Republicans forever. But there are certain papers, I'd also mention the New York Post as one. If you read the New York Post for the last 4 years, you could see what was coming. If you read the New York Post in recent years, you could see the truth about Joe Biden earlier than the New York Times or anyone else was willing to say it. You could see the hollowness of Kamala Harris before the Washington Post was willing to say it. It's not all of the media, but sure, I mean, some of the papers, some of the networks, they have been misleading their readers and viewers for years. They lied about Biden, they lied about Harris, they lied about Trump. Will they now keep doing it? We'll see. If I were them, I would take this as an opportunity they did not take in 2016, which was the opportunity to learn from their loss, actually learn. What is it about the Democrats that is not resonating with the working people of America? There is a lot for them to learn if they can pass the denial stage of the grieving process. And if they can pass that, who knows? Maybe they could come back sometime. But if they don't and they just double down on this empty, hollow, scaremongering rhetoric, of course they've got nowhere to go.
We can expect some big changes on a lot of different fronts. One of them is foreign policy. The Wall Street Journal writes this about Iran. As Iran weighs striking Israel a third time, it must know that its defenses are down after Israel's recent retaliation, and not only the Russian equipment. The Biden administration can no longer protect the Iranian regime. President Biden's leverage over Israel has largely collapsed thanks to U.S. voters. And I ask you about that also in the context of what we're seeing overnight in Amsterdam with Israelis being targeted. So you've got
Jews being targeted.
Jews, yes. With people asking them for their papers. So there's the geopolitical issue, and there's also an anti-Semitic issue happening in that region.
Yeah, well, what happened this week with the election result not only changes everything in America, but changes everything in the Middle East. It can't be stressed enough. The Biden-Harris administration devoted much of its energies for the last year in trying to get regime change where? In Jerusalem. They did everything they could, from Chuck Schumer to Kamala Harris to all of them. It was about trying to get Benjamin Netanyahu out of power. If the White House in the last 4 years, and particularly in the last year, had spent 1/10 of the time it spent trying to get regime change in Jerusalem onto doing regime change in Tehran, the mullahs would have fallen by now. The threat in the Middle East, the intransigent part, is not Netanyahu. The intransigent bit is Hamas and its backer, Iran, the Revolutionary Islamic government. They're the ones that are still holding Americans hostage. They're the ones who are still holding more than 100 people hostage in Gaza. They're the ones that refuse to have a ceasefire. They're the ones that have refused every ceasefire negotiation for the past year. The war could have been over a year ago if Hamas had given up. Instead, it has been decimated. Hezbollah is being decimated. But the crucial thing is the head of the snake. The head of the snake is the revolutionary government in Iran. It's now naked. Its air defenses are taken out. It's the Iranians' turn to do the tit for tat now to Israel. If they do, when they do, the response from Israel, I hope, it doesn't need military backing, but with the agreement, with the approval of the United States, the response of Israel this time should be to take out the nuclear reactors, take out the oil fields, topple the regime, as far as I'm concerned. That is the thing that is stopping peace in the region. If you get rid of the mullahs, you can have a peace deal across the whole region. Yeah. The Abraham Accords could even include Iran at some point, and even the Nobel Peace Committee should recognize that.
Speaking of the New York Post, check out Douglas Murray's piece today, 10 Things Trump Can Do to Clean Up Biden's Mess Abroad. It's a good read. Thank you, Douglas.
Thank you.
See you in person.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.